That's cool. And I think going through what you went through too, you can relate so much more. It's just I do think that's good for kids in terms of choice, not being forced down one of those paths, is definitely going to allow you to be able to be who you want to be much, much more, which is really cool. So I am very, very excited to have you here today, guys. High Level is one of the coolest platforms that we have, and I get it mixed up. Robin, is it Go High Level or High Level?
So the actual company is high level, but domain is gohighlevel.com. It's a lot
Okay,
cheaper.
so yeah, yeah, right. So when we're talking about the product, do we say Go High Level or do we say High Level?
Whatever is easier for you to remember it. I mean, at the end of the day, we want you to put your own brand on it and call it whatever you'd like.
Okay, I always say go because I guess because that's the thing. But
Yeah.
so I want to first introduce you. We have a little intro that goes, so people have already seen that. But I'd like for you to kind of introduce yourself, tell your story a little bit, and then let's dig into the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. So my name is Robin Alex, one of the co-founders here at High Level. We are an all-in-one AI-powered CRM platform tool. And really what we've done is taken all the different software applications that most businesses need and use. And we said the biggest problem is you have 15 different applications. Not only do you have to figure out how to glue it all together, but now you have to maintain and monitor all that. So what we've done is put it all into one place, made it super easy to use, and then we allow you to put your own brand on it. And many people who typically set this up are marketing agencies or digital citizens in many ways. So they're out in the world actually representing the software as their own, which it is, and they're able to monetize against it.
Yeah, and we do that. So we've got a whole iteration for people who want to acquire businesses, and we call it Epic Business Suite. But it's high level all the way in the back, and it's been really cool to watch because I maybe well actually I have so many things I want to ask you. So first, let's talk about your personal entrepreneurial journey, and then let's talk more about High Level. How did you get involved in the world of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was anything special to like dip my toes into it. It was just something that was born in me, I guess, and bred in many ways. I mean, I was the kid selling candy to all my neighbors when I probably shouldn't have been. Selling CDs for friends, with music and stuff like that, which is totally not the right thing to do. But when 15, 20 years ago, that was the thing. But over time, I started a company at the age of 17 selling game servers online. So games like Counter Strike, Battlefield 1942. I actually created a decent sized business, and actually I ended up selling it because my grades weren't that great at university. So my parents pressured me to sell it, or really to close it down. I ended up selling it, not realizing that was an acquisition that someone took on. And
Yeah.
crazy story about that is the company that bought it actually was acquired by a company who then sold it to Rackspace, who's not a publicly traded company. So it's cool, tangentially to be like, wow, I
That's your
actually had
baby,
something
right?
that
I
was
mean,
like,
it
yeah,
kind of, yeah, that's
yeah,
super fun.
2 or 3 degrees of separation from that. And, at being 18, 19, 20 years old, you just sort of don't really realize there's a bigger world that's out there. It's just, you're just kind of in the mode of, I just need means to an end.
How did
Um,
how did that go in terms of the like with the parents? Because I think that's a big thing these days is that the world has changed from go to school, then go to college and then get a degree and then go get a job. There's so many more opportunities and so many things you can do, and I think a lot of parents have had a hard time adjusting to that. How did that work out for you, and how did they kind of end up dealing with it?
Yeah, so it's definitely tough. So, I come from an immigrant family. My parents both came from India and came to the United States. And, they come in with a typical immigrant mindset of we came over to the United States to make a new life for our kids and to give them opportunities that they didn't necessarily have. And, that really comes down to, they're going to have, my dad was a mechanic and my mom was a nurse, and they worked extremely hard, and they just looked at it and saying, I want our kids to succeed, and by them succeeding means you got to get a degree. They need to be an engineer, doctor, attorney, basically that professional degree, and that's success to them. And
Right.
so when they see me not only going to college to in their mind pursuing these things, but here I am actually in the dorm room running a business. It's counterculture to what they've thought, and even in their circles and friends and community, that's the traditional path, and that's actually what I grew up in as being Indian. And so that was why there was a lot of pressure in me selling it. But I think the challenge that I had even when I sold it was I'm still an entrepreneur at heart. So I kind of felt like I was running this, two lives in many ways of like, I still want to make my parents happy. So I'm going to have that, but I'm still going to always have something on the side, and, still going to try pursuing both. And that's honestly what I did from that point on. Um, and it wasn't until, probably 15 years ago where, I still graduated college just to check that off my parents' bucket list to make sure that I did that. But at a certain point, they just realized that he's always going to have a business. Like, there's nothing that we could do to deter it. And then once they saw that I was actually able to produce substantial income and take care of the family and things like that, I think they realized that, it's not as bad. And I do think that the culture of the world, right, having different
Yeah.
opportunities, different businesses has shifted quite a bit, to where it's very mainstream now, where if you almost honestly don't even have a side hustle, what are you doing in life? Which I think is also bad, right? Like, and that's the problem with the world that we're in. We always
That
shift to
runs
the
up against
extremes.
the grind mentality, right? Where you always have to be doing something, no days off.
Yeah,
That's not necessarily good either.
it used to be that, there are certain people that are business owners, and then it's also great to be an employee. And we
Yeah.
used to live in these extremes of like two different things. But now it shifted to the other side, where if you don't have a business, if you don't have a side hustle, if you're not opening up EINs every single day, you are a failure. And I think that's horrible as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's funny how the world shifts in that way.
It always swings back and forth. Now, do you have kids?
I do. I have a son who's 7. He's about to turn 8 next week, and a 3-year-old daughter.
Okay. And you're driving them to be doctors or lawyers, right?
No, I'm open to anything and everything. They're young, so it's really hard to tell, and
Yeah.
their things that they enjoy shifts daily. But we are watching what kind of toys they play with and what do they like to do. Just through normal conversation. I think my daughter actually might get into something in the medical field. She always leans into the toys where it's like, oh, let me check your heartbeat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and my son, he's into music and beat making and stuff like that. So maybe college is not the right answer for him. But I'm open to any and all ideas. I don't think there's a one size fits all for everybody.
That's cool. And I think going through what you went through too, you can relate so much more. It's just I do think that's good for kids in terms of choice, not being forced down one of those paths, is definitely going to allow you to be able to be who you want to be much, much more, which is really cool. Okay, so
Yeah,
you
100%.
sold your business. Now you are businessless and in college, not really loving what that's like. What happens next?
I definitely had an existential crisis at that point. I needed to figure out how to get my grades back up because I was on the academic probation list and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me concentrate on that. But then I just felt like I was not doing anything productive in life at the same time. But by luck, I had a friend there who was saying that they got a job at a company, and they were looking for interns, and they heard about me selling this company, and so they really wanted me to join. So I was actually an intern for them and developed a piece of software that helped grow that business. And it was actually a part of Oracle. I'm sorry, it was under SAP, and we were doing
Oh
Oracle
wow,
third party support and
nice.
stuff. So I
Yeah.
got to learn big business culture, and it definitely gave me exposure in how businesses actually run, not kind of from the startup perspective, but more established businesses. Um, and then unfortunately, the software that I was building and things like that created a large lawsuit. I mean, when you get Oracle and SAP fighting, it doesn't end too well, and so unfortunately that company folded, which
Mhm.
led me back to being a true entrepreneur again. And this is where I got into IT consulting. And in IT consulting, I typically leaned on small businesses. That's what I really understood. I could talk to a business owner, really understand their pains and needs. And at that time, businesses were spending an absorbent amount of redoing their IT closets, servers, equipment, things like that. They spend north of 6 figures in adding that infrastructure. And at the same time, they were spending exorbitant amounts in new websites, their digital marketing landscape, and things like that. I would typically lean on, helping the business on the IT side, the technical, servers and things like that. And because they had a trusted relationship with me, they would get these quotes and bids on the digital marketing side saying, hey, you know technology, can you review this and just give us your opinion? And I would just look at these and basically say, you know what? They're charging that much money. I could probably do it myself and probably do it cheaper, and it'd be a great win. And that's where I started getting into digital marketing. And that's when you start learning about scope creep and all the different challenges associated to that when you take on a project that you probably shouldn't have. But it gave me a lot of exposure and a lot of battle scars along the way. Uh, and I learned about feast and famine, right? You pick up a big project, you get the scope creep and all that. But once the project is done, you don't have anything else coming in the door. Um, and so immediately I shifted into, well, how can I keep helping the business there? And that was, of course, recurring revenue some sort of way, which I knew how to do on the IT side, but on the digital marketing, how do you do that? And that's where we got into more performance marketing, right? So digital ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, and all that. And it's really how close can you get to the revenue line? If you can really help a business grow, they want you to stick around forever.